Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more History Matters, and this time we're taking a break from some World War II, and we're going to talk about how terrible was Ivan the Terrible, a short animated documentary. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. Would love to join the Discord, follow me over at Twitch, and please do go check out the two gaming channels here on YouTube. One is for the stream VODs, and then the other is edited content. Bam, I did that fucking fast. Under 30 seconds. Holy shit. I'm good. Anyways. I don't really know anything about Ivan the Terrible except for his name, Ivan the Terrible. And I think he probably killed a lot of people. That's about it. Let's dive in and learn.
There are many kings in history who are known as the Great. Tsar Ivan IV of Russia does not hold this epithet and is commonly known as Ivan the Terrible. This raises the obvious question, how terrible was Ivan the Terrible? Terrible is a translation of the Russian word Grozny. Grozny does mean terrible, but not in the modern sense with its
It doesn't mean evil.
moral undertones. So what did he do? Well, Ivan IV was actually the first Tsar of Russia, and his reign, which was a long one, was one of tremendous reform which saw him create many lasting Russian institutions, such as the Russian army, which he started from a corps of professional full-time soldiers called the Streltsy. He also founded Russia's first parliament, made up of the high-ranking nobility called the Zemsky Sabor. He married a Romanov princess, began the Russian expansion into Siberia, and commissioned the very fancy St. Basil's Cathedral. Sounds good, right? Well, yes, but Ivan was also responsible for certain less good things. Ivan's first wife died in 1560, and some believe that this was his breaking point. After this, Ivan's reign was one of transformation and widespread warfare. This was followed by famine, discontent, and potentially rebellion. So the Tsardom was split into two halves, the Zemshina, the southern core based around the capital Moscow, and the Oprichnina, the somewhat recently acquired northern territories from the former Novgorod Republic. Ivan never really trusted those that lived in the conquered territories and was somewhat paranoid about their nobles, called boyars. One of the themes of Ivan's reign is his paranoia surrounding the
Yay, a paranoid boy. Woo.
boyars and his subsequent treatment of them. He was clever about his approach, though. In 1564, at the height of his popularity with the people, Ivan abdicated the throne, blaming the boyars and their incessant scheming.
Ivan, what the fuck?
The nobles were unhappy with this because legally they couldn't govern without a Tsar, nobody wanted to pick a new one, and also they lived in a city filled with people who hated them. They begged for him to come back, and he did
What is he doing?
so on one condition. He wanted to be an absolute monarch. They said yes, which in hindsight was a somewhat silly thing to do.
Yeah.
He returned and not long afterwards founded the Oprichniki. This was a secret proto-police force whose job it was to deal with traitors and also administer the Oprichnina. Plague and famine struck Russia in the late 1560s, and Ivan was worried that the people of Novgorod might rebel. There was only one course of action to win them over and calm
He's gonna kill them all, isn't he?
things down. Murder, which he
Yep.
did so by sacking the city. Also, in case you're wondering, the Oprichniki were disbanded in 1572 after it turned out that they were only good at repressing people but terrible at fighting competent enemies.
Of course. Sounds like cops.
Much of Ivan's efforts hereafter were dedicated to neutering the nobility further and centralising his power. There were limits to how far he was willing to go, so in 1575, again, he abdicated. And it was Simeon, Ivan's close friend, who took up the position as acting ruler. Simeon then, totally of his own free will, decided to seize masses of land from the church before Ivan returned in 1576. Ivan condemned the seizure of these valuable church lands as unchristian, but not enough to give them back, obviously.
Of course.
By the way, during this entire period, Russia was fighting a costly war called the Livonian War against all of these countries. This was because Ivan wanted to incorporate Livonia into Russia. Russia lost. Something else of note happened. When Ivan was mistreating his son's wife, the two got into an argument. The question of loyalty came up and Ivan's son was like, "What are you going to do, beat me to death with a scepter?" Turns out, yes. In the end,
That's fucked up.
and Ivan's reputation as the terrible, be it in either the forceful or evil senses, comes almost entirely from his treatment of the nobles. His constant warfare, centralisation of power, and the Oprichniki, alongside the murder of his own son, certainly soured his legacy, but barring the latter two, there isn't that much that's all too different from Europe's other rulers. And none of those are called the terrible. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
And that was How Terrible Was Ivan the Terrible, a short animated documentary by History Matters. This one had a lot of information in it, but I ultimately didn't like they tried to bring it around towards the end and like kind of connect it all, but I still found it a bit like hard to follow. It was very like the information felt very like obviously this is one of those times where I felt like the information was coming really, really fast. It was kind of hard to follow this time around. I don't know if that's just because they were using like the Russian names, So it's like my brain trying to register a foreign language, but then they're continuing to give more information. And I'm kind of stuck up on trying to make sure I heard the thing right of like the schnipski, schnapski stuff, you know? I don't know. So this one, not for me. I didn't care too much for this episode. It's okay. It's okay. It just a little too, I don't know, it felt very like a lot of stuff happening really, really fast. And then I didn't ultimately feel like I was, able to. I think I know what it is. It's the all of these things, right? Like the murder of his son, the treatment of the nobility, and then the Oprichniki, the police, medieval police here. Well, I guess this is 15 this is 1500, so we're no longer in medieval times. Whatever fucking era. These cops, proto cops. I felt all of those seemed a bit disconnected from one another. That's it. It's the disconnection of the context here that I kind of felt um you know hurt me. And of course, obviously all of these things do have a common root, which is the paranoia of Ivan. Um is what really, but I didn't feel like the I wasn't really feeling in the moment of watching the video of connection of the material, if that makes any sense. Um, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.